This, I guarantee you, will have nothing to do with the coronavirus epidemic. This is about the pilgrim, Dillard. I just finished reading the third book in a row, written by a lady. This one a noted author, Dillard. Years ago, she wrote a collection of essays entitled, quite charmingly I thought, A Pilgrim at Tinker Creek. That book established her as a kind of modern-day Thoreau among other authors, and also won for her a Pulitzer Prize. The book I recently read was also a collection of essays, old and new, entitled The Abundance. In that book, she is always, no matter what she is writing about, seeking to find what she calls a working compromise between the sublimity of our ideas and the absurdity of the fact of us. I agree that the fact of us is absurd, but I'm not so sure about the sublimity of our ideas. That rings a little high for me. I might sign off on the apparent sublimity of our ideas or the aspiring sublimity of our ideas. A lot of our big ideas, for me, they're wannabes. She scoffs at many things, but she is always reverent about nature and serious about writing. She compares writers with Seminole alligator wrestlers, saying it is not work for the faint of heart. Get everything you can, she writes. Give everything you have. Explore, she says. Discover. And then leave some trace of what it is you have found. You were made and set here to give voice to this, your own astonishment. If you cultivate a healthy poverty and simplicity so that finding a penny will literally make your day, then, since the world is, in fact, planted with pennies, you have, with your poverty, bought a lifetime of days. She quotes Giacometti, "The more I work, the more I see things differently." That is, everything gains in grandeur. Every day becomes more and more unknown, more and more beautiful. The closer I come, the grander it is, the more remote it is. Because of its inherent majesty and mystery, life requires a total commitment. As a girl, she liked to play baseball with the boys. Even better, she liked to play tackle football, because the only way she could tackle a runner was to throw herself completely into his legs. She takes the time to tell this story. She and some boys were throwing snowballs at cars. They pelted one. It stopped. The driver jumped out and began chasing after them. That was unexpected. The kids split up. He chased her and another boy through the neighborhood, into backyards, over fences, through hedges, on and on in deep snow, until finally he ran them down and caught them. Out of breath, his trousers soaked, his shoes ruined, his shirt a sweaty mess, he started to yell at them. She was thrilled. She loved this man. He was her hero, this man who had given everything to this pursuit because his car had been hit by snowballs. Anything worth doing requires that vital commitment. making a tackle, witnessing a total eclipse, telling a joke, investigating a creek. She returns to Tinker Creek. Above all, she makes that creek come alive, invigorated, bursting with a creative power, seemingly a magic show. She's a pilgrim because she worships and because she is solitary, maybe a cat. She mentions a husband once, good because she's had 3, and her daughter also once, surprising to me since maternity is so deeply entwined in the creation of life. She writes accounts of things for which there is no accounting. That eclipse, a tortured deer. Her heart lies with Emerson and Thoreau in their transcendentalism, the metaphysics, what lies beyond. She writes about paganism, and it is not a critique, it's a blessing, a confirmation. She finds God in everything. She rejoices in the world, the living God. She quotes Wallace Stevens. It can never be satisfied, the mind. I never really got his work. He was matching language with reality, words to matter, thoughts to life, always insisting that they were not the same, were 2 entirely different things. Talking about the sun was not the sun. She's the same. Eudora Welty, in a review of Pilgrim, she admired it, but added that, at times I do not know what she is talking about. Speaking of a German mystic, Dillard says that he was writing incoherently, as usual. For her, that's not a bad thing. It's hard to match words with that for which there are no words. She writes that living is a standing in a waterfall, and the water is time. She's looking for illumination, and it's when she's seeking the spiritual through the senses that she crosses over into the incomprehensible. I am the man who watched the baseball game in silence in an empty stadium, she writes. Or, the secret to seeing is to sail on the solar wind. Take that, Eudora. She has a crush on Teilhard de Chardin, the scientist, the spiritualist, paleontologist, and priest, that nutty Jesuit who was never completely sure of his bearings, but was always forging on. She finds unique and poignant ways of joining and contrasting the secular and the sacred. For instance, sitting through an awkward and earnest Catholic Mass and a history of British polar expeditions. Her life was an exploration to a pole, the remote. She desired to cross that bridge that leads from the material world to where it leads. She's always juggling the sublime and the absurd. It's really quite a show.